Hi guys, welcome to part 4. Today we're going to be taking our character and setting up two more animations, the jumping animation and also a sliding animation. If you're using the same character as I am, then go ahead and download the new character with all the new animations from a link in the description. And then to import them into your current file, open the file that you have in your Unity project, and just press Shift and F1 to go to the link and append menu, and then just navigate to where the new file is on your hard drive, and go into Action and import all the new animations, which are the jump idle, jump run, land idle, land run, the slide, and get up. Okay, so then you can just hit link and append, and you can see all of these new ones have been imported, and you just need to go through each of them and just press this F button over here to make sure that it has a user so that it doesn't get deleted. Just go ahead and do that, and if you're using your own character, then I'll just go through and play all of these animations so you can see what sort of thing you need to create. So the first thing that I have is the jump idle. So this is just jumping from a standing position, and it just sort of lifts up and slowly falls down to the ground, and it ends at the point where the player is sort of about to contact with the ground. And then we have the land idle, which is that contact with the ground. It's just very short, just like that. Then there's the jump run, which is just jumping from a running position, like so, and once again it ends as it's about to contact with the ground. And we have the land jump, the land run over here, and that's just like that. And then the last two are the slide, so that's just going down, and the get up animation from the slide, just like so. So once you've imported or created those animations, save your file, and just wait for Blender to import them. And now we just need to go onto our player and into the animations tab, and we need to set up these new animations. So we'll just add 6 new animations and go into the source and just add these one by one. We have the jump idle, land idle, the jump run. Oh, is it 7? The land run. No, it's 6. I just put in 5. My bad. The slide, and finally the get up. And then we can just apply this. And now we're going to go into our animator. And as you can see, we have this movement blend tree already set up. And now we're going to want to create a new blend tree. And we can just call this something like jumping. And if we double click on this, we're going to add in 2 motion fields. And here we're going to be blending between the jump idle and the jump run. So first the jump idle and then the jump run. And we can turn off automate thresholds, and we want to be playing the full jump run if we're going at our maximum run speed, which in my case is 12. And so yeah, we'll just be blending between these two animations. And now let's go back to our base layer by clicking over here, and let's create a new blend tree, and this will be landing. Okay, and in here we're going to have exactly the same setup, 2 motion fields, only here we're going to have our land idle and our land run as the animations are being blended. And once again, set this to your run speed over here. And so yeah, you must just remember, if you ever modify your run speed, just make sure that you change it here as well. And now, going back to our base layer, we're going to set up a new parameter, which is going to be a boolean, which is going to be jumping. So obviously this will be set to true or false from the script. And we're going to make a transition from our movement to our jumping blend tree, and this will transition if jumping is true, and we're going to transition from jumping to landing if jumping is no longer true, and we're going to go from landing to movement if say the landing animation is played more than 50%. Okay. And actually, let's also have a transition straight from the landing to the jumping if jumping is true again. So this is just in case the player hasn't even finished landing before the player starts jumping again. So just a sort of immediate jump. Now let's work on these transitions a bit. Between the movement and the jumping, we want to make this transition a little bit longer, give us a sort of smooth cross fade between these two animations. And now from the jumping to the landing, what's important is that you can see we've set this exit time to 50%. Now we don't want this landing animation to be played twice, and if this transition lasts for more than 50% of this animation, then this won't execute the first time, and it will loop and only happen the second time. So if we zoom in over here, which you can do just with your scroll wheel, you can see it shows a percentage at the bottom there. It's currently 71%, and we just want to make sure that that's less than 50%. So put it at 49% so that this transition will occur the first time. Okay, now let's go into our code, and let's create a new set of variables, which will be our states. And the first state we're going to have is a private bool jumping. Okay, and you can see we have a jump input over here in the if player physics.grounded block of code. And inside of here, if we start jumping, then jumping is of course going to be set to true. And we also want to set our animator component, the jumping parameters. We'll say set bool and call it by its name, which is jumping, and we're going to be setting it to true. Okay, now over here above it, we're going to say if jumping. Okay, now keep in mind that this is inside of the if grounded code, so if you're jumping and you grounded, that means that you've obviously landed. So now we can say that jumping is no longer true.